Welcome again to the Entrepreneur Power Hour, where we discuss expectations versus agreements. Sometimes in life, when you make a commitment with somebody and they don't follow through, you get upset. But did you make an expectation? Was it just willful thinking? Or did you actually have an agreement with them, something solid written in stone, or a very strong verbal agreement or a handshake or something like that? Maintaining your agreements is crucial to being an entrepreneur. I'm joined here with Chris, Francis Richardson, John, Sandy Kirkland, and Ron Lester. Guys, what do you think?
Somebody want to start us off?
Actually, I was sitting there and thinking about that. I was listening to Kareem intro there with the agreements and expectations. It dawned on me a couple of things regarding the agreements. Um, it just when you're thinking about the whole, I think an agreement really comes down to developing that relationship. You develop a trust. Um, I think that more than than in a written or a verbal agreement. I think if you build trust with somebody, um, that's you've created an agreement that's going to withstand the time.
Wow, I like that. Yeah, and that's exactly what we're creating with the Entrepreneur Power Hour. We're creating a place where people from all walks of life can come and be friends with us and get their voice heard and get their ideas brainstormed and get the exposure they need to reach out to many people who have seen them on the show. And so, creating this show was a completely selfless act for both of us. And we made the agreement very early on that we would never discriminate, we wouldn't judge, we wouldn't ever tell somebody they couldn't say some things. We just don't talk about politics or religion because you know how that gets. People get all bent out of shape over that kind of crap. So, but anything else is pretty much fair game, and that's the kind of platform I wanted to be a part of when I was involved in other programs that I was doing. I felt like I couldn't come on there and be myself, and
I just had a training yesterday. And I was on the conference call, and the company I work for, I'm not in an industry that's, we've got a lot of competition.
hmm
And so one of the things that he was talking about is how to separate yourself. And so what he was saying is, don't dress up. We don't go out there and dress up like in the shirt and tie and the slacks. And you don't want to go up and because I'm in a business-to-business arena. Um,
Okay.
and so what he was saying is, go in there and just be yourself. Um, because if you want to really build something that's long term, you got to kind of separate yourself from what everybody else is doing. Know what everybody else is doing. At the same point, separate yourself out. So when you're going in there, um, really trying to get to know them, because a lot of times when people think you're selling something to them, they tend to put up barriers. And so I think that is really kind of when you're talking about expectations and agreements. If people are expecting you to sell them, that's really you really got a barrier right there off the bat. On the other hand, if you go and approach them with a more friendlier disposition, really getting to know them, know what they're doing, you're creating an agreement, a long-term agreement. Um,
Yes.
and so I just thought that was really fascinating that particular training that I had yesterday, it really kind of played out to what we're talking about right here tonight.
hmm I agree. And how did you feel? How did you feel to know that there's people out there like that that are willing to explain to you and teach you what networking is really all about, and that it's not about selling people, it's about camaraderie and masterminding and relationship building. When you found that out, what changed for you, Ron?
Well, for one, it takes away that stress, that fear. If you're going in there and you're thinking, "Oh my God, I gotta think about the competition. I gotta think about all these other things, how to approach somebody," you can just throw that out the door. And if you just being yourself and doing and letting them get to know you as well, you're really trying to get to know them more.
Oh, somebody's calling somebody.
But if you're really getting to know them more, one thing you never want to do is go in there and start talking automatically about whatever you're doing. Let them, really get to know them. Let them tell you what's going on in their life, and let them ask you about whatever you're doing. And then at that point, you can actually discuss what you do at that point, because you're not pushing it on them. It just comes out conversational, which makes it a lot easier.
Yeah, I completely agree. When you take the pressure off of other people to, people need to know networking is not about selling anything. It's about camaraderie, like I said, and relationship building. And when we created the Entrepreneur Power Hour, that's exactly what we had in mind. We had the mindset of uniting people and minds and everything else. We didn't have an attitude of, well, we need to get so many people subscribed because we want to make hundreds of thousands of dollars. Now that was never the goal. Now that, of course, if that is going to become part of our YouTube channel, but we're here for people who need a voice just for entrepreneurs. And I see a newcomer here, Mr. Thomas. I don't know your last name. How are you doing tonight, sir?
How are you? Glad
I'm alive and well, thank you.
Well, great to see you here, man. And our topic for tonight is your experiences with expectations and agreements, and what do you think the differences are, Thomas, when you make an agreement versus an expectation with somebody?
Well, people will agree to a lot of things, but that doesn't mean it meets their expectations going in. Their heart has a different idea.
Okay, and what is your idea of that, what you just described?
Frustration. You can't help somebody if you don't know really what they want.
That's right. And what would you say, in your experience, how have you been able to find out what people want?
Continually asking questions and building a one-on-one relationship.
Nice. How's that been going for you so far?
So far, so good.
Good. Well, welcome to the show tonight, Thomas. Go ahead, Francis.
I was going to say Thomas is an excellent listener, and he would agree with me that listening to another person and learning about them will empower you to help them more, and you learn from each other.
Yep, I agree. I completely agree with what you guys are saying.
Yeah, another thing to think about too is your self approach. That's a big deal. When you think about this, like in the call we were talking about this, when you go in and you're talking to somebody, if you're kind of slouched down, if you're not confident in what you're doing, people tend to shut themselves off. So if you're walking in there, you're holding your head up, you're really broadcasting your confidence coming out. It tends to really open the doors a lot, and that can be really a minor thing that people don't realize when they're approaching somebody is if you're unsure of what you're doing, if you're not confident in your own products or services, whatever you're doing, that really hurts.
Yep.
And people don't realize it off the bat. But that minor tweak, it could be just something as little as throw your shoulders back, hold your head up when you're speaking to them. It can make a big difference.
I agree, yeah. I think that your presentation of yourself is everything, but I also think, in my experience with networking, we needed to come up with our own brand, me and Kareem. We needed to come up with something that was completely ours, and that other people could build with us together, and that's the essence of the show. Yep. We needed to come up with a content marketing strategy where we're bringing our ideas forward so that people can learn from us, and so other people can bring their ideas forward and their brilliance and get taken seriously, and have a platform for us all to interact in a mastermind. And absolutely. I think Yeah, and I think that's so vital because we all know if you're, have an entrepreneurial mindset, you know that you need other people to make your dream a reality, and you have to share that dream with other people, and they have to share that same dream that you have. So this started because me and Kareem were building a health and wellness business, and it just wasn't taking off. We couldn't keep distributors, we couldn't keep customers, even though we knew the people that we were selling our stuff to very well. People didn't like committing to an auto ship, they didn't like committing to having to spend a certain amount of money every month, they didn't like having to commit. That's an expectation, and that's an expectation that the company put on us. So I think that when you expect things, bad stuff can happen, especially when it comes to business, because business to me is about give and receive
Yep.
equally giving and receiving.
Actually, Big Brother. You've seen the show Big Brother. They got that what's that? What their famous catchphrase? Expect the unexpected. I think that plays in life as well. If you
Right.
go in there and you expect the unexpected, you don't know what you're going to get, and that could be the genius of it all.
Yep. You're right. Anybody else feel like chiming in? Go ahead, guys. Francis, Sandy, Kareem, Thomas.
I would like to hear more from Ron. I bow to your expertise because in your field you had to do many presentations, and people join people. They don't join opportunities. They You have to be able to have the posture as well as the deliverance in
Mm-hmm.
order to create the expectation from other people and draw them in. And what would your spin be on that, Ron?
But, it's again when I go in someplace, I never expect anything. Or when I'm talking to somebody, I don't want to go in there and automatically make a judgment. When I think of the term expectation, I'm thinking of a judgment.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so for example, I ran into I just had this happen just recently, as a matter of fact. Went in someplace and here the business was really sluggish. They weren't real happy with their rent they were paying. And then I happened to go a couple doors down, and this company has even a smaller space, and they're struggling with the same thing. So I happened to go back to the other store that I was at before. I said, "Hey, why don't you guys? You got one that's kind of they're selling outdated products and outdated services. You got one that's more current." And so I went over to him. I said, "Why don't you guys kind of combine? You guys work together. You could share the rent, cut that in half, and at the same point, you're bringing that audience or the customer base that's more of the outdated stuff and kind of bringing them into more of a current. Can really open up a heck of an opportunity and bring more foot traffic into the business." And so by introducing those two together, they actually ended up saving them some money uh, from their rent in the first part, and then it actually drove in more traffic, so they both are experiencing
Created a
better sales.
marriage. That's great. You create a harmonious business marriage, and that's great. And that's what I hope to do with anybody that I come in contact with, to have a harmonious business marriage that I will let them know in vows what I'm willing to put forth and offer them, and hopefully be able to create the expectation that they're going to do the work that they need to do on their end, and that they can rely on me with all the support they need.
But it's interesting with that kind of that example I just gave you there. By doing that, that's more of a selfless act because I'm not benefiting at all other than developing a relationship. That's really the only benefit I got from doing that. But it's important to remember is if you see something, and a lot of times it's just you pay attention, look at what's going on, and like you mentioned before, where you ask questions. you can get to understand what some of the struggles are, and then when you do that, and you can kind of point somebody in the right direction, it actually gives them, you've just given them a tremendous value. And then at the same point, somewhere down the line, it will benefit you, just not right away.
Yep, I agree. You know, we're doing this show and we're giving people value, and I know that the more we do it and the more we offer people, you know, we're not going to see the results right away, but they are going to come, just like you said, Ron. And that's a great sentiment to live by if you're an entrepreneur, because when when you're giving to people, you're setting yourself up to receive and to have more people take notice of what you're doing, because you don't have a selfish agenda, you have a teamwork-based agenda, and I think that's very important for people to understand, that networking is about teamwork.
Actually, that's a great point you brought up for the Entrepreneur Power Hour. You're talking, because you were talking like you and Kareem are having problems building with the vitamins and the health and wellness.
Yeah.
Well, with the Entrepreneur Power Hour, you're bringing in networkers from all different sorts of industries. You got the business to business, you've got the health and wellness, you've got maybe you've got somebody who's in more of the for example, maybe there's somebody who's got some sort of computer or something like that skills that they're bringing in.
Right.
You know, you've got all sorts of, and when you're talking about content, boy, that opens up all sorts of doors, and you know that can be huge for in this case the Entrepreneur Power Hour, because you're talking about fresh content, and that is a big deal.
Well, yeah, and I mean that's what we decided to do, because I've seen other people on YouTube who are either game reviewers or they're movie reviewers, or they just do funny stuff, and they got but they've been doing it for like probably 5 or 6 years, but they have like 3 million subscribers, 4 million.
Yeah.
And I mean that's how they're making money. And so with us, we just have to keep going and keep doing this, and what we're aiming for is a full panel every week. People that are devoted and are going to be here, because we're giving away 12 copies of our Pay Me What I'm Worth workbook, okay? And I'll explain that to you later, Ron, if you don't know what Pay Me What I'm Worth is yet. It's a great course.
I've actually got the book autographed by Soul.
Awesome. Okay, so you know Soul. Okay, good. Okay. And we're giving away copies of our books when we're done them. Kareem Mays and myself, we're co-authoring some books together. We're going to give away a couple of those, and we're giving away free memberships to our site once all the content's up, and people are going to get exclusive access to all the content we're offering, all the different training that we're offering from our experiences and what we've learned. So there's a lot of value we're going to be giving those 10 panelists. Now, the challenge we're facing right now is finding those 10 people who are going to show up consistently every week.
I've seen Frances here.
Yep, Frances is one of them. She's one of them. And, you know, she has a lot of experience.
Thomas just messaged me on Skype. He was having trouble with his microphone.
Mm-hmm. That's okay.
Back in.
Okay. Francis, your webcam's off. Is there a particular reason why your webcam's off? I'm just wondering.
It's just a bad hair day.
Oh,
yeah, me too.
Okay. But yeah, I mean, you know, I didn't think that I was going to ever be doing what I'm doing now with the show and with Pay Me What I'm Worth. And, you know, my journey with that course has been incredible. I've become a much more positive person. I've become a better person to be around. I've become a more tolerant, compassionate person. And I've become a lot more aware of things. And this is what I was born to do. You know, I'm born to be a networker. I'm born to be an entrepreneur, and I just got to keep plugging away. You know.
You know, another good thing you guys could possibly think about, if you're in terms of building up Entrepreneur Power Hour, to really get the word out there. Look at Fiverr. Go on, find some people on Fiverr that can, you know, you can get all sorts of good stuff from Fiverr there
Yeah, we've been advertising with Fiverr for quite a while now. We're also doing. I'm working IBO Toolbox. I started working that again. Kareem's going to be working Facebook. So we are getting ourselves out there. We got Frances helping us out, which we're very grateful for. She's promoting us. And I think Rick Rodriguez has been promoting us quite a bit too, but I think they're in some kind of class. They're in the Holiday Bluesbuster class right now with Penny Lamore.
Buster's class, and Soul said he would try to join us for a momentary thing. I think he's interacting with Rick and Cheryl tonight.
Oh, Soul is?
I believe.
Okay, I thought you said he might be here, so.
I said he was going to try to be here. He couldn't get in on the first link, and it was a little late when he got in, so I sent him the new link.
Okay.
But he's showing away right now, so I'm hoping he'll join us, and I hope that Thomas can get back in.
Yeah. I don't know where Kareem is. He stepped away from his computer.
But the Blog Talk Radio segment that you did with what was her name?
Becca Hollinsworth.
With Becca.
Yeah.
I blanked that out, and Kareem was telling me that you had a real upswing in views on the YouTube there.
Yeah, I think we did as well, and you know, I feel that the expanding to radio has really is going to help us a lot too, because not everybody wants to get in front of a camera, right? I mean, some people just want to be able to talk and don't want to get on camera. So
Now, when you're talking about expectations, what are your feelings? What are your feelings about people with leads?
people with leads.
When you're talking about trying to find somebody new, do you guys ever try to focus on? Do you work with leads or?
Not really. I mean, leads are usually blind in my experience. I'd rather get to know the persons that are going to be here one-on-one and actually talk with them.
I think I was more talking about like your experience with the leads for the networking aspect of it.
When you say leads, I don't know what you mean, Ron.
Because a lot of networking companies, they say, oh, you want to get leads to contact.
Oh, no, I don't work with leads. I create my own leads.
Yes, that's what we do.
I think unique leads where you have interest that you've driven and people are interested in your content.
Yes.
Usually produce better.
Yes.
Buying leads off the street.
That was the reason I wanted to bring that up, because that's one thing you can hear about from a lot of entrepreneurs. They're like, oh, especially people in the network marketing industry. They're always like, well, what do you think about leads? And I've always thought to myself, you're just throwing your money away. That's you want to build something, build it yourself. Let them come naturally.
I agree wholeheartedly. I mean, I have probably 12 people a day that are sending me requests to add them to my Facebook, or people that are on IBO that are sending me requests to add them as an associate. So those people I reach back out to, I stay in touch with through e-cards or through a routine connection, just if it's hi and Happy New Year. We're having a power hour. Past, you're welcome to join us. And I invite, like Thomas, I invited him that way tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And I apologize. I got a call from a friend, so I didn't expect that to happen.
Watch it.
So.
I found all sorts of unique stuff. Like when I was talking about Fiverr earlier, one of the things I had is a kid that set up because I had my own show going on Blog Talk Radio there for a while. And one of the things I did for that is I wanted a nice intro for when I'm doing a show. So I had hired a kid for $5 that created our own little soundtrack, or intro soundtrack, and that actually adds some relevance to when you're talking about creating your own show.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So that, and we do have an intro. We actually made an intro. I believe Kareem did pay Fiverr to make our intro for us, and then me and Kareem took turns talking on the intro about what the show's about, what people can expect, and the content that we're going to be bringing to people. And we've also been holding polls on Google Plus where we're getting people to vote on what they would like to see us talk about on the show. So if you guys want to do that and you want to go and brainstorm with people when you're not on the show with us, go ahead, come up with some ideas of what we can discuss and let us know, and we'll feature it on the show, Ron.
I'm going to add you to my Google Plus. I didn't do that yet.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe one of the great ideas is, like you just said, with the health and wellness. Well, let's tackle different industries. Let's bring those guys in. Let's help them see it.
Yeah.
If everybody knows, because everybody's going through the similar issues with the different network marketing industry. Whether it's in the travel, whether it's in health and wellness, everybody's going to have the same problems and concerns. Well, heck, even expectations or fears. It all is really it's the same thing.
It is. It is. It is the same thing. And I would love to have people come on here that are in different industries so they can explain what their differences are between what they're doing, and then there could be another person that's in a different network marketing niche, and they could explain what their experiences have been, and then they can brainstorm and they can compare those ideas and compare the niches, and then they can educate people on what those differences are.
Oh, absolutely. And even better is not guys that have been in the industry so long. The new people are really the one. That's the group, the niche you really want, or the people that are just looking to start themselves out. Whether it's as an entrepreneur, they're starting their own business. Maybe there are certain issues they're struggling with. It's a great way to get some feedback.
Yeah, it is. It is a great way to get some feedback. I agree. I mean, because I would like to meet people that I would like to meet different people who have succeeded in company A, B, or C, and ask them what they had to do. If they're in health and wellness, what did they have to do to get to $5,000 a month? Because most of those companies require so much volume.
Yep.
It's ridiculous.
And having successful entrepreneurs, definitely we can see some of their styles, some of their habits, some of their knowledge, and we can actually work off of that, and in turn we'll become more successful because people will go, oh, did you see they had Big Tom? Did you see they had blah, blah, blah? I hear Ray Higdon or whoever it is, and they'll say, okay, he's a 5-figure, 7, 8, 9, if that's possible, dollar earner, and they'll want to be on, and they'll want to. It will definitely help people to actually watch and come to our show and learn something.
Yeah, it's actually I've always kind of found this fascinating. Guys that are big time earners, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't find them to be as interesting as the guys that are creating multiple businesses. What are they doing? How are they raising their funds to create A, B, C, and D company? One thing that I found that's really crazy when you're talking about the business-to-business arena, it is amazing how many business owners own multiple businesses. I'm talking, you go in and you talk to somebody, and here they own 15 businesses. How the heck did they do that?
They had a lot of people working with them.
Absolutely.
Also, here's one thing I've found. once you kind of set up your first business, which is kind of what we're doing here, setting the expectations and agreements here again. Once you set up your first business, you have an idea of what to expect and who to work with, and you can kind of see what worked and what didn't. So I would imagine setting up business number 2 to 10 is not as difficult as setting up business 1. And if you can set up business 1, you'll have capital from that, and you say, oh, okay, I'm making $5,000 with network marketing, or I'm making $5,000 as a life coach, whatever you're doing. And then you say, I'd like to get some real estate. And then you get some real estate. I'd like to open up a restaurant. I'd like to, and then you can have different people manage it because you have residual income. And I honestly think that is why the rich get richer if they want to get richer. Not saying they always do, is because they will set up a business, then they'll set up another business, and pretty soon they own 10 chains of restaurants, or actually real estate I'm seeing is the real big one in America. People will just buy one house and fix it up, and then buy more houses and keep buying properties.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's actually become a really, really competitive market.
Flipping?
Yeah.
Flipping. Oh yeah. There's a guy that I know in Brandon here that I used to hang out with. That he was a good friend of mine, good landlord that I actually lived under his tenancy for 7 years, and we were like, really good friends. We used to have drinks together, etc., etc. And that's what he did. I mean, he would buy houses and he'd rent or properties and he'd flip them. Like, he'd do the work on them, make them livable, put in new bathrooms, flooring, toilets, whatever had to go in, and he'd flip that. And his rent was reasonable, but when he renovated, he had to up his rent charges because he was putting money into the places, right? So you got to remember, that's one area where you can't have the expectation of paying less rent just because he's a good guy or because, he's got a good heart. Case in point, he's putting money into that building so you have better quality of living. You should make the agreement with yourself that it's okay to pay more rent.
And you have to make an agreement. There's never, well, I mean, in very rare cases I've seen or heard of a landlord, unless they really, really like you or you're really good friends, that have an expectation of paying. They usually have, you're paying this much a month, and if you're late these many months, I like you and all, but you got to go. Mm-hmm. And while that, some will say it sounded cold, and I understand, but if someone's putting a lot of their income, and it's the same thing with here. If someone keeps saying, I'll show up on the show, I'll show up on the show, I'll show up on the show, and they say, Kareem, I want a free membership. Well, no, I put money and time into that site.
That's right.
I'm not just going to give you free stuff just because you asked for it. Mm-hmm. And that's what people have to realize, is that most things, most money-making things, most money-making endeavors, flipping houses and stuff like that, all come from making a solid agreement.
Yes.
You got to make them solid agreements to get anywhere.
Yeah, solid investments.
Yeah, I also think that the people that we're going to be working with have to understand and what's the word I'm looking for? They have to know that this is a place that can really brand them, because this isn't just our show. This is for everybody. We're doing this for everybody else too. And by us all branding one another and brainstorming like this, we're creating a powerful brand for everybody.
And no one else is doing it. That's the thing I really like, is we have something that's useful. It has like a practical application that nobody else is doing, not to my knowledge. Yes, there's people masterminding, but I've seen a lot of their masterminds come in very specific strains. Like, there'll be people masterminding about, oh, here's how you blog.
You know what? One thing we were talking about the show. You're talking about agreements.
Yes.
Expectations versus agreements. Yes. Yeah. What are the differences?
What's the most important agreement that nobody's mentioned yet?
Agreement to yourself.
Yep, that's it.
The why. Your why.
Yeah,
the most show, actually.
That's really funny. Nobody mentioned that yet in the show, but the most important agreement is got to be that self-agreement. You've got to agree with with yourself, basically.
Mm-hmm.
if you don't have that agreement in place, for one, when you're going to talk to somebody, it makes you less not only relevant, but it gives them. It kind of has you have a cloud of like doubt. Well, if you have any sorts of doubts over your head, anybody you talk to is going to see that cloud.
Oh, of course.
And if you're looking at you want money to rain in, if you've got that cloud over it, you're talking the wrong type of money raining in.
Yep, exactly.
Interestingly enough, that's what we did in that Pay Me What I'm Worth course. First thing we did before you start anything is you create an agreement with yourself.
Yep.
And I found that makes a significant difference when I go to do the work. I'm like, well, I made an agreement. I really want to get better. And I actually have it. I printed it out. I signed it, printed it out, and scanned it and sent it. So I know it's there. And the purpose of that wasn't to give an agreement to anybody else. It was to tell myself that I'm going to get through this book, I'm going to go through the courses, and I'm going to learn something and get myself better.
Yeah. Here's another good one for you. Write yourself your own, put your own blank check on your wall.
Yeah.
Write it yourself, put it up on the wall. And don't put a figure on it. Let that be a blank figure, because if you want to envision what you want to make, you put that up on the wall. That's your own fire.
There it is.
That is powerful. I love that idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like Napoleon Hill. It's you don't want to say, oh, I want to make this much. You don't want to limit yourself. You don't want to make an expectation that's unrealistic either, like, oh, I'll wake up tomorrow a billionaire.
Yep.
But to have... Oh, I put it the wrong way.
Kareem has a blank check.
I do because after I read Think and Grow Rich, I thought, this is an interesting concept. If I can manifest jobs and I can manifest different opportunities in my life, the Power Hour, Speak Your Mind Now, different things I'm doing, and then Pay Me What I'm Worth, then I can write myself a check. I can write that check. I just got to put the work in. I'm not going to be wish-washy and think it's just going to come out of thin air. But I truly think that you can attract just about anything you want, money-wise and not, just by putting the persistence in, knowing what you want, feeling like it's already there, and then obviously taking the steps to go and get it.
Yeah.
So where are you putting your blank check? Where do you hang your blank check?
I actually have it next to my keyboard so I can look at it every morning.
Yeah, somebody told me the first place you want to put your blank check is, like, if you have to put more than one, do it.
Oh, yeah. Put it all over your house.
Put one up in the bathroom. That's what you're spending enough time
The only
in the
reason
bathroom.
I don't do that is if I have company over and they're like, hey, guys, do you know Kareem's routing number? I'm like,
Well, put void.
No, but I'm still a little bit like when it comes to financial information, PayPal and stuff like that. The problem is, like, these numbers, people can determine stuff. So no, I just have it for my eyes only. I don't want to put it everywhere in my house, but it's not bad.
Yeah. Then the other one that they say that you want to do is whenever you receive your first check, whether it's $1, 50 cents, who cares? Put that first check, hang it someplace, because that one is something. It's proof you did it. You accomplished something, even if it's 50 cents. There it is.
That's
you don't have
right.
to cash it, whatnot, but it's there. It's proof that you can do it.
Yeah, it's proof, and it's also proof that you made an agreement with yourself and stuck to it.
Yep.
Yeah. And I feel like, there's only 4 of us here tonight, and yeah, I'm a little bit disappointed, but you know what? You guys, if you keep showing up like this, you guys are gonna get everything that I told you, the incentive. We're gonna give you guys the book, our books when we write them, the access to the membership site, and the Pay Me What I'm Worth books. Even though you've already got one, we'll give you one anyway, Ron. Because we said we would, and that's an agreement we're honoring with our panelists. Does that make good sense?
Yep.
Yep. So, and because we need people here. It's a better show when there's people contributing to the discussion and not just me and Kareem talking back and forth.
Oh, absolutely. Whenever you have participation, um, regardless of who's running a radio show, Howard Stern, if he only had one person, he wouldn't be relevant today.
That's right, exactly. And I love Howard Stern actually, so I really love his radio show. It's pretty cool. Been a fan of him
He's
for
not afraid to
years,
say he's not afraid to say anything.
and that's why I like him because I'm the same way. It's just that when I'm live on YouTube, I got to be careful about that. I got to present myself in a way that is compromisable for everybody's personality and stuff. You know what I mean? So, yeah.
Yeah, and actually, in some points you don't have to.
That's right.
If you went in there and you want to be like that rebel,
Mm-hmm.
you want to be the one that says, I'm going to go against the grain, I'm going to do whatever. Yeah, you're going to get an audience that's going to say, oh, I want to see what the rebels are doing today. But whatever it is, stick to whatever format you want to go with. Stick to the type of person you are.
Oh, yeah,
true
of
to yourself.
course.
If you're true to yourself, that's all that matters.
Yep, I agree with you. What do you think, Francis?
I think I'm still inviting people.
Okay. Okay, that's cool. I don't know what happened to Cream. He dropped again.
We're still streaming, I hope.
Yes, we are.
It's still live.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it'd be very interesting. I got a couple of buddies that do something similar. It'd be interesting to get them in.
Well, yeah, and we could even join them for a couple of episodes or whatever they do is so they can get to know me and Kareem. It doesn't matter, if we got to come and talk and be on their group first, I mean, that's fine with us. It's fine with me for sure anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. That sounds like a really good, and we just lost Kareem again. Oh boy. The United States does not have as good of internet service as Canada. Yeah, unfortunately. Yeah.
Yeah, I've never used Zoom.
Well, Zoom is a it's a video conferencing platform that is a lot less heavy on the internet because it's not streaming, especially live on air broadcast, because that streams live to YouTube, so it uses more bandwidth. Zoom is a conference that you can hold peer to peer with a couple of other people, and whoever's on the conference, that's who you're connected with. And it doesn't stream live to YouTube when you're on Zoom.
But yeah, I've been having goofy things happen with Hangout, and it's a new technology, so I'm not hating. But yeah, I've been having goofy things happen tonight with it.
Yeah, we're gonna switch it up and do Zoom next week. That's gonna make a lot more sense, I think.
And then it won't have that issue of links, because people have said sometimes the links have a little bit of an issue when they click on it. They couldn't get in, so
yeah.
I want to kind of.
Have you guys heard of The Big Short yet?
What is that? No, we haven't.
It's a new movie that has Brad Pitt and
okay.
Christian Bale.
Oh, I like Christian Bale.
Ryan Gosling and Steve Carell.
Oh, wow.
I'm going to tell you right now, it's from a business standpoint, it's a movie that followed the housing crisis.
Oh.
And I'll tell you what,
Oh wow!
it's they're saying it's up for nominations this year for Best Picture. Yeah, they're calling it like a dark comedy. I actually watched it last night. Oh my goodness, it's funny, but at the same point, it's absolutely terrifying. When you hear it's about the banking industry, so.
Oh, yeah. Well, we know.
Phenomenal.
Yeah, we know. Me and Kareem are very familiar with the banks and who's running the world. I've watched some documentaries on that stuff that are very good, Ron. If you want to know what those are, I can tell you.
Yeah, but this is actually the true story behind it. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
I'd like to watch it. I definitely would be interested in a film like that.
Yeah, that'd be really cool, actually.
I sat there and It was like 2.5 hours long, and I'm telling you, I did not. 2.5 hours flew by. I did not even know it. It was
Wow.
just unbelievable.
Yeah, I love it when a movie does that, when it pulls you in like that, and you're just glued, and the time just,
And
the
especially
time
for
just goes.
it's really crazy. The crazier part about that is that's a movie that is not action packed. It's not anything like that, but it's so story driven.
Oh, I love movies like that. For instance, 2001: A Space Odyssey by Stanley Kubrick. That's one of the most brilliant movies I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah,
Just because of the cinematography, the visuals, and everything it was about. It's an incredible movie. And nowadays, with people having such short attention spans, I mean, you couldn't put something like that in the theater in this day and age. And that's disappointing.
I feel like most people their expectations are for a Michael Bay film, like, oh, how many explosions did it have? Did it
Yeah.
have special effects? And
Yes.
actually, that's why I like the older. I'm not saying the new Star Wars is bad. I'm sure it's great, but I do like the older ones better because it relied more on what you could do without special computer effects.
Yes.
A lot of older movies are definitely more story driven, and
Yep.
definitely don't. I'm not saying special effects are bad. I think a lot of them are cool. But the problem is people become dependent on special effects and doing crazy things instead of writing a good story. And I
Yeah.
see that in art too. It's to me, I'd rather hear a good story than somebody's like, look what I can do on a computer.
Yeah. I know.
that goes for music too.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Oh
because if you don't have a good story, if you're not being truthful in your music,
oof.
oh,
We could talk about that for 5 hours, Rick. Or I mean,
well,
Ron. We could talk about music for like hours on hours on hours because I only listen to serious art. I don't listen to